Good evening and welcome to Midnight Movie Club and my review of Ghostland, also known as Incident in a Ghostland. So Ghostland was written and directed by Pascal Laugier, the same man who brought us Martyrs back in 2008 and 2012's The Tall Man. The film stars Crystal Reed, who you may recognise from Gotham, alongside Mylene Farmer, Anastasia Phillips and Taylor Hickson. So, following her aunt's death, Pauline and her daughters inherit her house. However, during their first night in their new home, murderers enter the home, putting Pauline in a situation where she must fight to save her daughters' lives. Then, 16 years later, Pauline and her daughters reunite at the house where Pauline and Vera continue to reside. This is when bizarre events begin to take place and the past comes back to haunt them. So straight up, don't expect any ghosts in Ghostland. I think the name refers much more to ghosts of your past coming back to haunt you rather than actual ghosts or any poltergeist activity, so do not go into this one expecting any of that, although there are some rather odd, creepy things that do take place. The cast all deliver decent performances. The younger actresses who play Pauline's daughters, Taylor Hickson and Emilia Jones, really put in solid performances in what I would imagine was a rather grueling shoot for them, so props to them for that. Taylor Hickson actually sustained a terrible injury on set when she was told to pound a pane of glass and it smashed, cutting into her cheek. She still bears a scar to this day, which is a real damn shame, and I hope it does not affect her in getting any more work, as she really does look like a promising up and coming actress. Fingers crossed she is compensated well, as this never should have happened. Anyway, there are solid performances from all the cast right across the board. The opening 15 to 20 minutes of Ghostland really had me hooked, as it was rather well shot with crisp audio and a dreary colour palette. The film did have a feel of a big production horror. One thing that needed a bit of work was the dialogue. If it wasn't for the solid performances, it would have stuck out much more, but it barely gets away with it being rather flat in certain scenes. Ghostland does kick off nice and fast, but sadly it throws some very cheap and rather insulting jump scares our way. Not one of the jump scares did its job and left me just shaking my head. It doesn't help the scares either that the villains are generic Hills Have Eyes type characters. Now in the Hills Have Eyes, the villains were rather terrifying, but Ghostland will leave you completely uninterested in who these people are and why they are attacking this family. Sticking with the theme of being attacked, there's some pretty brutal violence in Ghostland, which was probably the highlight for me, especially at the beginning of the film. Sadly, the effects of this brutality are not shown off well. The makeup in this film was woeful. The injuries our characters sustain look like they were done with Halloween party makeup kits, which is a shame because it takes away from the intense fighting and takes you out of the more tension-filled scenes that attempt to build dread. I just can't take a character serious when they look like they have a baked potato taped to their forehead. Then Ghostland also wants to keep us guessing with a twist here or there, but these really don't pay off, as the twists are underdeveloped and do not feel warranted at all. Some things are spelled out to you and are so in your face it makes it really hard to miss. But by that point in the movie you may have not been paying much attention anymore, so there's a chance it may catch you off guard, but even then it will probably just be an okay, cool, not a holy fuck, what, how, why, when, where, know what I mean? Anyway, one other thing that really annoyed me was the constant Lovecraft references and the horrible Lovecraft cameo, if you can even call it that. They just seem to be misplaced and not needed to me. And Ghostland really does let its inspirations bleed through, as it's obvious it pulls from films like Texas Chainsaw Massacre and something you would see from Rob Zombie, although not executed as well as either of those. The soundtrack in places really reminded me of something you would hear in an early Carpenter film. In one scene I actually thought it was taken straight from The Fog, so I was happy with this score even though I felt that it wasn't used to its full potential. Ghostland has got a couple of moments of genuine great horror, and at one point when a certain voice comes from a certain somewhere, I thought, okay, we are onto a winner. But to my dismay, it never got into that next gear, as it was always stuck in first. For me, the story was far too sparse to warrant what this family endured. But Laugier sure can shoot a good looking film and make his audience squirm. For me though, that just isn't enough. Ghostland is a decent film if you're the type of horror fan that looks for pure brutality and disgust over nail-biting tension and atmosphere. To sum it up, too much is left in the shadows of Ghostland and it becomes another story of victims being battered and tortured by uninteresting villains. It is well shot with a decent score, good audio work, great set design and solid performances, but all of this isn't enough to propel the movie into being a great horror, as it is held back by a paper-thin story, poor dialogue and lack of innovation in the genre. So with all that said, I am going to give Ghostland a 2 out of 5 rating, which is disappointing as I was expecting much more from it after Martyrs. With that said, if you are a big fan of Lugier and really enjoyed Martyrs, you will probably find Ghostland worth a watch, but if you're looking for a real good horror that's going to keep you up at night, then definitely pass. Lugier was clearly looking to shock with this one, but it really does nothing for me except fill 91 minutes of a day where I had nothing to do. But if you have a different opinion on Ghostland or one similar to mine, then let me know it in the comment section below. If you enjoyed the video, then please leave it a like, and if you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe to join the club. And as always, thank you very much for watching, and good night.